dear viewers, and welcome to this edition of our program Africa Today. On the sidelines of the G20 summit in Rio de Janeiro, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, and in the capacity as the African Union champion of post-conflict reconstruction and development, PCRD announced the launch of the 4th African Union Week for awareness of post-conflict reconstruction and development, scheduled from the 18th till the 24th of November 2024, under the theme Joint Strategies and Pathways for the Effective Implementation of the African Union Policy on Post-Conflict Reconstruction and Development. The initiative emphasizes addressing the root causes of conflict, enhancing institutional capacities, and fostering sustainable peace across Africa.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, as the African Union champion of the post-conflict reconstruction and development dossier, announced the launch of the 4th African Union Week for awareness of post-conflict reconstruction and development, which is taking place from 18th to the 24th of November 2024. In a statement issued on the sidelines of the G20 summit held in Rio de Janeiro, the presidency announced that this year's event theme is Joint Strategies and Pathways for the Effective Implementation of the African Union Policy on Post-Conflict Reconstruction and Development. Sisi said in his statement that the African continent faces multiple and simultaneous security and development challenges. He added that this is essential to address the root causes of these conflicts. He pointed out that building the capacities of national, regional, and continental institutions is crucial. He explained that these institutions help countries withstand and confront complex internal and external challenges. He said that there must be a concerted effort to reach sustainable peace solutions to existing crises. He added that all of that will contribute to building and sustaining peace and prevent societies from sliding back into cycles of violence and conflict, while strengthening and activating the connection between peace, security, and development. He also pointed to discussions held during the Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development, which was convened in Cairo last July. The forum underscored the interconnectedness of peace, security, and development. The forum witnessed significant milestones, including the launch of the African Network for the Prevention of Violent Extremism Conducive to Terrorism, and the announcement of the Aswan Forum Prize for Reconstruction and Development, which celebrates successful peace-building efforts across Africa. He further noted that the progress made in strengthening Africa's conflict prevention and peace-building frameworks, particularly by endorsing the revised African Union policy on post-conflict reconstruction and development during the African Union Summit in February 2024. He stated that the policy update reflects a comprehensive strategy integrating national, regional, and continental efforts, and that the focus now shifts to activating and implementing the new policy.
To shed more light on the issue, we are very much delighted to be joined over the phone by Dr. Ahmed Mostafa, our international relations expert. Dr. Mostafa, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Sir, President Sisi announced the 4th African Union Week for Post-Conflict Reconstruction and Development. How does this initiative align with the African needs, and what role does Egypt play as an AU champion of PCRD?
I think such opportunities are crucial, especially for not Egypt as well as for the African countries, just to join here in Aswan for this, gathering or forum that makes three things. First, the proximity which Egypt needs just to have this ambience of conversations and dialogues and talks with their counterparties and brothers and sister countries from Africa, as well as, collaboration, talking about what possible ways to cooperate with each other in this critical time, and as we see the tensions that are taking place worldwide, as well as the synergy that's supposed to be like integrating each other in a lot of activities like the strategic, not only the strategic, but also the economic and developmental activities in this regard. This is why such kind of initiatives, or whether in terms of forums, of conferences, or gathering, are crucial and building up, a lot of things, and also making Egypt restoring its prestige in the African continent as the big sister, and just tackling and trying to put settlements for the surrounding problems around Egypt itself, whether in Sudan or in Ethiopia or in Libya or whatsoever, what's happening in West Africa. Also to have a greater connections with the greater powers in Africa, like Algeria, Nigeria, Cote d'Ivoire, or Ivory Coast, Senegal, as well as, of course, South Africa, and things like that. Hello?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah, that's okay. Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, sir.
Yeah, I already answered the question.
Yes. The Aswan Forum for Sustainable Peace and Development launched the African Network for the Prevention of Violent Extremism. How does this initiative contribute to achieving the sustainable peace in the African continent from your point of view, Dr. Mostafa?
Because once you start to have such kind of collaborative projects or initiatives, as well as using, because also the peace and, anti-extremism or anti-terrorism has a good impact, whether in the field of the soft power, because soft power will have a greater impact in this, and Egypt is very progressed in such soft power sense. As I told you before, in 1958 they start to disseminate the microwaves via the radio throughout the African continent, whether in Quran Kareem or on the other, specialized radio channels and things like that. Therefore, it has like a mutual impact, as well as this soft power paving, the way for the other issues, especially these economic and developmental and infrastructure issues, as well as for the deterrence and the matter of security and mutual defense and things in that respect. Therefore, all has like a mutual impact on each other from this regard.
Yes. So during the summit, President Sisi met with Tanzanian President Samia Hassan. What are the anticipated outcomes of this meeting in strengthening the Egyptian cooperation with Tanzania?
Tanzania, it's in a crucial place. As you know, it is in the Horn of Africa. And Tanzania also is one of the best Africa in terms of location in East Africa, and also very close to Ethiopia as well, strategically. Therefore, a mutual or more mutual cooperation with a country like Tanzania, I think, will has a positive impact on Egypt and on the African Horn, and also we may control and monitor anything that could take place in maybe Ethiopia or things like that. And the synergy or the cooperation between the two countries, Egypt and Tanzania, will also have its impact on the region of East Africa, and will have a greater impact in the matter of reducing tension, disputes, domestic conflicts, as well as improving strategy of Egypt, because as you know, Tanzania also is very close to the Sea of Arabs as well as the Indian Oceans, and we know what are the tensions that are taking place over there. Therefore, your existence over there is very crucial strategically as well.
Yes, indeed. Sir, Egypt also proposed establishing a global grain and food storage hub in order to bolster the food security and supply chain resilience. How does this benefit both Egypt and Africa, and how could it strengthen the continent's position in the global food security?
Despite Egypt that may be not very rich in some resources like the water and things like that, and we know that we have problems with Ethiopia concerning the Renaissance Dam and the percentage of potable water of Egypt in this regard. However, Egypt is one of the best agronomic countries in Africa and in the region, according to the figures of the United Nations itself, whether the World Bank or the other, or the FAO or the other specialist organizations. Therefore, Egypt also has, leader initiatives in this regard, just to keep the grains and the foods for the food security in the future in the silos or the storages being made recently since 2014, and we should appreciate the Egyptian army in this regard, because he started to do such projects from such time. And this, logistical points or depots or silos or the things in that respect, I think will be helpful for not just securing the food for Egypt, because as we know, there are a lot of conflicts and a lot of supply chain damages and cuts and things like that. And as mentioned, even in Quran, if you remember the, Surat Yusuf, Egypt is like the stock of the world for food and grains and things like that. Therefore, in this regard, Egypt just had a good plan just to have such depots in order not to benefit itself from, stocking or the stockage of the food and grains, but also having, more range to support the neighbor countries as well as the African countries in the future in this regard. And Africa will, according to the logistics that are built and the ports and the highways that should be made in the future, I think Egypt will supply any African country need any support in this regard.
Yes. Sir, how does Egypt actually active stance at the summit strengthen its leadership role in addressing regional crises like what's going on, the genocide war on the Gaza Strip and on Lebanon as well?
Yeah, any international gathering or regional gathering helpful just to expose our pressing causes, as you mentioned, whether the Gaza cause or the aggression on Lebanon cause as well. And it gives you like an opportunity just to talk freely in this regard and, exposing your viewpoint openly. And Egypt already, just adopted from the very beginning, and were, as we mentioned before, the mother country in the Arab world. The causes of the neighbor countries or the sister countries like Palestine or Lebanon is the same causes of Egypt. And it is not new for Egypt, because Egypt, as I told you, since the beginning of the last century, we already adopted the cases of the Arab neighbor countries in this regard, but also in like summits like what happened in Aswan, or the G20 in Brazil, as Egypt invited and using its membership in BRICS as well, because Brazil is one of the founders of the BRICS in Rio de Janeiro, just to expose such, tribunes and forums, just to expose the crisis and how it has a negative impact, not just on Egypt, on the Arab world, but on the world, because we know that the supply chain is coming from our region.
Yes, indeed. Sir, Egypt now is a member of the BRICS bloc. How does this membership, combined with enhanced relations with the G20 major economies, strengthen the Egyptian position at the global economic and political fronts?
Of course, we have like a big benefit. This, group, the BRICS, and as you see, Brazil, despite it is a BRICS country, also they are adopting and they are one of the G20. And G20, one of the best champions, as I said before, for economics and for development, and contains, the best 20 economies worldwide, including also the G7, with a GDP of more than 85% of the global GDP.
Yes.
And it is an opportunity just to extend economic dialogues and developmental dialogues, infrastructure dialogues with such countries, and will help you just to attract direct investments from such those strong 20 countries. And as we hear, we have fruitful conversations and dialogue with the strong members, whether in Brazil, and we can get benefit from a lot of things, as well as from the other countries like Emirates, or like China, of course, which is one of the best and the first foreign investors in Egypt currently. And there was an opportunity just to have talks between the president and Mr. Xi Jinping. And a lot of things that, yes, such being a member of BRICS will facilitate for Egypt in the future. And also Egypt could be like the third-party countries once maybe the tariffs of Trump in the future may affect negatively on China. Therefore, we can produce the products and export it from Egypt. Therefore, we can get several, economic initiatives and benefits from participating and being member state in such a gathering.
Indeed, Dr. Ahmed Mostafa, our international relations expert, thank you so much for your precious input. While in a landmark election for Somaliland, the breakaway region of Somalia, opposition leader Abdurrahman Mohammed Abdullahi of the Wadani party emerged victorious with over 50% of the votes, as announced by the Electoral Commission.
The Electoral Commission said Tuesday that the opposition leader in Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland won last week's election. Abdurrahman Mohammed Abdullahi of the main opposition Wadani party received more than 50% of the votes cast. Abdullahi, 69, served as Somaliland's parliament speaker in 2005. The opposition party campaigned on a platform of democratic reforms and social cohesion. They promised to turn around the economy and resolve youth unemployment. President Musi Bahi Abdi of the ruling Kulumia party, who was seeking a second term after 7 years in office, came second with just over 30%. During his term in office, he pushed for Somaliland's international recognition. The election was delayed twice since 2022 for a lack of funding and other reasons. Somaliland, which declared independence from Somalia in 1991 amid a descent into conflict, has sustained its own government, currency, and security structures despite lacking international recognition. Over the years, the region has built a stable political environment in sharp contrast to Somalia's security struggles.
East Africa is witnessing a troubling malaria resurgence fueled by the invasive mosquito species, and that thrives in urban areas and shows significant resistance to pesticides.
Experts said that the spread of a mosquito in East Africa that thrives in urban areas and is immune to insecticides is fueling a surge in malaria that could reverse decades of progress against the disease. According to the most recent data from the World Health Organization, WHO, Africa accounted for about 95% of the 249 million malaria cases and 600,000 deaths worldwide in 2022. It said that children under 5 accounted for about 80% of deaths in the region. But the emergence of an invasive species of mosquito on the continent could massively increase those numbers. Anopheles stephensii is native to parts of South Asia and the Middle East, but was spotted for the first time in the tiny Horn of Africa state of Djibouti in 2012. Djibouti had all but eradicated malaria, only to see it make a slow but steady return over the following years, hitting more than 70,000 1,000 cases in 2020. Then Stephensi arrived in neighboring Ethiopia, and WHO says it is key to an unprecedented surge from 4.1 million malaria cases and 527 deaths last year to 7.3 million cases. Unlike other species, which are seasonal and prefer rural areas, Stephensi thrives year-round in urban settings, breeding in man-made water storage tanks, roof gutters, or even air conditioning units. It appears to be highly resistant to insecticides and bites earlier in the evening than other carriers. That means bed nets, up to now the prime weapon against malaria, may be much less effective. The fear is that Stephensi will infest dense cities like Mombasa on Kenya's Indian Ocean coast and Sudan's capital Khartoum, with one 2020 study warning it could eventually reach 126 million city dwellers across Africa. Only last month, Egypt was declared malaria-free by WHO after a century-long battle against the disease, a status that could be threatened by Stephensi's arrival. The spread of Stephensi could dovetail with other worrying trends, including increased evidence of drug-resistant malaria recorded in Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Eritrea.
Well, with that, our dear viewers, we come to the end of this edition of Africa Today. I'm Rabia. Many thanks for watching.